finally get into this eclipse. I've been saying that I'm going to do this video, and I have just actually been quite frazzled and scattered myself with this energy and trying to feel into it and wrap my head around it. So from what I've read on it, from what I've felt into it, here is just a way that you can work with this energy that is present now, but about to come into a little bit more intensity as we shift forward. As we come into this eclipse energy, knowing that Libra has an aspect here, so that will relate to relationships, contracts, relationship to self. This is a really important time to be asking, where am I not being real with myself? So if things feel like they're not working, pay attention to those things that you're resisting, pay attention to those things, and then ask what your needs are and what your wants are around those things, and start to try and get in good relationship with self. So as much as we can hold intentions and have goals and where we're going and things like that, with the eclipse season, it does come in to our lives in this way where it does what it needs to do to shake us up, to put us on another track if we need to be. The more that you resist in an eclipse season, the more challenging perhaps things can be if we look at it from that aspect. There will be this element or underlying theme of if things aren't good enough. So whether that's worthiness issues from your own wounding from childhood, whether it's stuff happening at work, anywhere that things aren't good enough, that's going to be a theme of this eclipse as well. So relationship to self, if we look at that, and then if we look at our wants and needs around knowing ourselves a little bit better in this time, seeing what we're resisting, seeing what might feel really clunky to us as we come into this eclipse season. It's also linked to that sense of things not being good enough. So it's where we tell ourselves these things of like, I've had enough of that now, I'm done with that, I don't want to do that anymore. If you're repeating thoughts or saying these things out loud, pay attention to those things right now. So I know that sometimes astrology, eclipses, all of that stuff, it can seem on the woo-woo side of things, and that's okay. I find looking to what the planets are doing, what the moon is doing, because it does affect us if we're in good relationship with our intuition and knowing ourselves on that level. So you can make this energy work for you, but it will work for you more if there's less holding of that resistance. So if we can start to get curious to that relationship to self, to any contracts, relationships, all of those things, everything that I'm saying, then it may perhaps make the ride a little smoother, maybe not, but I feel like it's just something we can look to and be intentional around, so we can have some kind of choice or some kind of say in where we want our energy to be guided to. Because even though opportunities may present themselves to us, doesn't mean we're aware enough to see them or to take them. The element of Aries in this whole eclipse season and what we're about to come into is that what is loud within the self. So it could be that not good enough, it could be any kind of core wounding, it could be just things like irritation with certain things that wasn't there a few weeks ago. So anything that has become loud within yourself, anything that's going to help point you towards what it is that perhaps you don't want to see. This is what the energy of now is asking for us to do, to kind of lift up the lid and take a look in there. Because of that Aries aspect, it will be important to march to the beat of your own drum. So knowing that you may be going against the grain to what some people around you may think is best, but if that is best for you, it is important that you have that good relationship to self, so you know what your rhythm will be and where to go. Eclipses really don't have to be super scary. They are chaotic, yes. They bring out the shadow part of ourselves and things that we've kept hidden within ourselves. So it's natural that this stuff has started to kind of spill out. If you start to look at eclipses as a really beautiful opportunity to see yourself deeper, to know yourself better, to really direct your life in a way where you can use that quick energy to land into that newness even faster. This is what this energy is representing. So number one during eclipse seasons is create space, cut out the noise, really start to tune into what it is that your heart, what you desire. So that is also that Aries element coming in as well, where it's saying, what do you want? It's important to not only water all these relationships, but what about watering that relationship to self? This is really important at this time. So that can include creating daily practices with yourself. So going to yoga a bit more often, making sure you meditate in the mornings, make sure that you have self check-ins or journal, go for that walk, whatever it is that's going to help you to have that space, be in that space, to start to really feel into what are the gifts that this shadow time brings. So what is the gifts that I know that I have that aren't fully out yet? What are the things that I know that I'm really good at that I'm not doing? It's a time where we look into what we're hiding, aspects of ourselves, that it's a beautiful time for it to come up and out if we're ready for that. So when we know ourselves well, and when we talk about the relationship to self, which is the theme of this eclipse, in my opinion, or in how I have felt out this eclipse, the more that we know and build that solid relationship where we stay in our center, the less that we can be pulled in all these other directions. So when we feel that overwhelm, sometimes it's important to find that center and come back in and say, well, what can I control for myself? Daily practices, that's one thing that we can start with. Just making sure that we're connecting, that we stay connected throughout that season. If you're feeling into things that you are hiding from the world, or just being curious to not knowing those things yet and seeing what emerges, that's a good thing to do. And secondly, what is unhealed in me? So let's say that you're dating and you notice the same behaviors coming out, the same patterns. So that would be a situation where you look to, okay, what's not healed in me? So it is all about the self. We keep bringing it back to the self in this time. What things do you need to heal to have a different relationship? And that's a different relationship to self, to parts of yourself, and then to other people. The unhealed questions come from the fact that Chiron, the wounded healer, is all part of the mix in this eclipse. So that gives us a chance to really dive to the depths of our core wounding if you haven't already been doing that yet. And if you have been doing it, expect that to go even deeper. It is a chance for really deep somatic healing, being able to process trauma through our body wherever we're ready to go. And this energy that is stirring, that you may have felt the last couple of weeks, we are coming into it being a little more intense and a little stronger. So this is why I wanted to do the video, just to pop a few questions out there, get journaling on it, be intentional, so you have that anchor point when things get crazy and when energy wants to go out to all these reference points and external, that you keep remembering to turn it in and to bring it in. So the full moon eclipse is on March 25th. So if we think about the full moon being that beautiful chance of endings, what we're letting go of, what we're releasing, blocks that we know of, anything that's unhealed, all those things we can actually bring in through the next few days, through the next week, however long it is till the 25th of March. And then the new moon eclipse is around April 8th, I think. And think about that bringing in the new beginnings. So we have big endings and then big new beginnings. So eclipses are just fast, deep, intense, and I feel like it's such a beautiful energy to work with. It doesn't have to be scary. Like, things that are happening, of course, you're going to feel fear, you're going to feel the unknown, all of that is part of our human experience, and I suppose we came here to feel that. So when it's happening, just to notice, I have this intention for it to be for this to be created, for this new beginning to happen. And so I know I'm going through that process to get to there. So you have that anchor point of knowing yourself well enough to march to the beat of your own drum on the way there. This is why that relationship to self is really important. And I feel like everything I felt into, I kept coming back to that. So think about, before April gets here, what do you need to release? What do you really need to let go of? And this is not in a fluffy way where you just release that thing and hope for the best. This is you doing the solid work on it. If it's a behavior, if it's an addiction, if it's like a coping mechanism, you're working on, why is that happening? How do I get through that? How do I find people to support me to no longer do that, so I'm choosing differently before I get there? This is all things that you have control of, whereas you could throw your hands up in the air and kind of go, well, it's eclipse season. But I think it's really about finding how this energy can work for us. And the eclipse is going to work for our soul. So for our soul's highest evolution, the eclipse will want to put us where our soul wants to be. So it won't really care what is happening for us in our day-to-day life. It's just trying to put us to where we're supposed to be. So the more we can tune in and listen and see what we're resistant to and work with that at this time, perhaps the smoother that eclipse season can actually be. And around the start of April, Mercury goes into retrograde, which is all about the mind. So again, on top of all of that, what's hidden, what's unresolved, what haven't I healed yet, we also then go into this aspect of the mind. And it's like this deep dive into the mind and into the subconscious patterns, to pull them up and out and tangibly work with that, and to expand our consciousness, to expand past all the ways that we've thought before, all the ways that we've just done those automatic responses and patterns, and to really change them. So the depth of the mind is coming up for a really deep purge or release of some sort as well. So be curious to that relationship with self. Start getting solid with it now, because it's only going to get a little bit more intense through the month of April. Remember your daily practices. Remember that your shadow self isn't bad. It may seem scary, but it is part of you, and it deserves just as much love as what the lighter aspects of you deserve. So there's food for thought around the eclipse. That's what I had felt into, and yeah, I hope that you got something out of that helps you through this next period of time. And if you need support, reach out. I can do online sessions. Just go to jessimoss.com.